harder than I like to think, but it's easy when you're by my side. No point in calling, you just have to see the fundamentals of our life tonight. Cause I've been looking at a photograph of you, and I've been thinking about all the ways you move. This isolation got me feeling like a movie, my love. Yeah, when I wake up, I feel empty, not beside you. My whole life, been searching just to find you. This quality, it hasn't got the right to keep us apart.
Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, and yes, today, of course, we're going to talk about tool grid. Yes, that's right, after you saw that beautiful montage, I do want to give you guys some background on the tool grid drawer organization system, why you might want it, justifying the price and sort of the logic behind this whole thing. Some people think it's really extreme while others can totally relate. But today I'm going to give you a little bit of insight onto why I chose to go with tool grid route versus foam or something else that's out there. But today I'm going to give you guys some insight onto why you might want the tool grid system and why I justified it and why I really love it. All right guys, so I'm going to give you guys a POV. It's just easier to hold the camera and I can kind of zoom in and things like that. I wanted to use a tripod, but it's easier this way. Before we get into anything, this is the drawer that really essentially made me go for something like tool grid, because I had all these individual sockets that were from kind of different sets. These were purchased at a different time than all of these. As much as I love everything that matches, it's just very, very expensive to get everything perfect that matches kind of one time around. So some of it is old stuff, like this is Husky, where this is Craftsman. So not my favorite, mismatching, brands and things like that, like they're different shapes or whatever. Honestly, it's a tool. If it does the job right and it's making your job easier, then that's great. For me, that's kind of where I am right now and kind of my arsenal. I will mention, for me, I didn't actually screw down all of these little socket holders just yet, but I did want to film the video for you guys. I wanted you guys to see what this looks like. I ended up screwing down just these because I was afraid that I would change my mind. So although these are not fully secure to the bottom just yet, it's pretty easy to do that, as you guys saw. I wanted to sort of live with this for at least a few weeks. With metric and SAE, maybe some people like all of it on one side and then the other on the other side. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, so for now, that's why it's laid out the way it is. You guys know I like symmetry with one big cabinet on each side, for example. But for now, inside the drawer, it's no big deal. And we just shoved this giant, this is a oil filter socket for BMWs. I feel like most BMWs take that 36 or 34 or whatever it is. Yeah, it's 36. So I use that all the time, actually, anytime I do an oil change on a BMW. So anyways, and then we have, of course, this is sort of a lifesaver, honestly, because it still looks organized, even though it kind of isn't. It's just 3 little sections, but it does definitely make your life a lot easier. You can pick out the sockets and the extensions. Of course, we got the ratchets over here, which is not ideal because they aren't screwed down yet. So it's a little wobbly, but you guys get the idea. The one that is screwed down is this 1/2 inch breaker bar, because I had to screw it in. My drawer doesn't come out far enough. So I actually had to screw it in and then slide it into my drawer. So if your drawers don't come out all the way, the width of the drawer, or the depth of the drawer, that's something that might be annoying to you. I know like a lot of these, the Sabre cabinets, they do come out all the way, so that's not an issue. But for me, I actually found out after the fact. I'm like, shoot, how am I supposed to screw this in? So I had to essentially just screw in these before I set up the whole tool grid system, which is kind of annoying. It'd be nice just to screw it in after you have everything set up. That way, if you want to move it. But anyways, that's the story there. And then of course it closes nicely. This is kind of a random drawer. I haven't really decided. I screwed these in because they will move around too much without a screw, but then like this part's not screwed in yet because I haven't really decided, guys. So any suggestions are welcome, but this is, these are going to be the pry tools for like the interior. Put kind of random screwdrivers over here, but you guys get the idea. Like putting these individually would be silly. So having a little container is actually really nice. So this one's actually probably one of my favorite drawers. Is, you know, you have the red and the blue obviously like alternating, and then kind of in the middle here is the Torx drivers, which admittedly I did buy like because I just put in the tool grid because I wanted everything to match. So I actually just bought one set of screwdrivers because I had a mishmash. And so this was actually all these screwdrivers were not even that expensive together. So it was worth it. And then of course we had the same story, got the pry tools. It'd be cool to have all the pry tools like lined up, but you know, you guys kind of understand. I know we're kind of like nitpicking here, but it is kind of nice to play with it. It is really like Legos for adults pretty much, because you can just, you know, like build it out and organize it, and it's just kind of satisfying. So right now, I will tell you, like when I'm working on a vehicle, like I was working on the E46 back there, I'll just come up here. I know exactly where this is, and then I just bring it out there. It's just so nice. And same thing with the sockets, even more so. This one is also like partially finished, and you know, I just wanted you guys to see like the reality of like what it is to build this thing out. What's cool is these vertical ones, which are limited to how deep your drawers are. My drawers are only like 3 inches deep, so doing this vertical won't work because then the drawer won't shut. So unfortunately, you can't do that for every single tool. It's going to depend on like how big the tool is, but these actually save a lot of room, because if you think about it, you have like 2 of these take up space that like 1 normally would. So as I build this out and I place more tools in here, which of course these don't really have a spot yet, you guys kind of get the idea of like where I'm getting at. So like this one would have been nice to go vertical, but we'd be smacking into the drawer. So this is kind of my fix for now, to put this little corner piece here and that kind of thing. But it really is like so nice to have, like this isn't even fully done, but I already know like where everything is. And the other thing I'll tell you guys is like, here's a great example. This is a drawer. It's kind of like an ugly drawer. It's like random things, but the fact that you have like 3 big organizer bins makes a huge difference. It makes everything look very intentional. And this little divider is also pretty nice as well. You'll notice you don't need the actual bottom of the tool grid to have the rest of these. So if you want to do like what I did, I bought the 4 drawers, and I actually have 2 more over there. There's 2 more of those sort of pegboard things. So I have 4 right now, I'll do 2 more, and then that'll be it. So I'll show you like this drawer. I just threw in some really long, you know, organizing things. So it makes this drawer a lot easier to live with. This deep drawer, I haven't done anything with, but I'll show you. Let's see, no, that one doesn't need anything. Nothing there. So yeah, so that's these. Here's a good example. This is sort of my just like utility drawer. You know, have your protective glasses. I threw some remotes in here, you know, pens or whatever little, just honestly random little tools that don't have a great spot. I just bought a bunch of these, and these actually are not very expensive. These little containers here, you know, as I mentioned, it's not fully organized yet, but it is nice. Here's the extras. This is just literally a drawer full of like extras. And I was actually thinking about doing this in the house as well, but for now, let's not get too crazy. You guys get kind of a comprehensive overview. Yeah, so here's a great example. This is obviously the like pressure washing / foam cannon drawer. I was able to like organize a lot of this just with these 2 like little bin type things, these little, you know, rectangular things. So much nicer. You don't have to have these rolling around. You have to have them in a little box. You can just place them here, and it's just so much nicer. It's really not that complicated. So you know, the socket drawer looks really intense, but if you think about it, you know, something like this, it's so simple. Like it took like 7 minutes to put in, you know, a few of these things, and it looks like I spent, you know, like 7 days planning this, but in reality, it's the same stuff that was in there before, and it's organized even better. So, you know, this, it does create a little divot because the bottoms have little legs on them, but it actually works out because they don't slide around. You know, you can like move this back and forth. If you have a rubber liner, the little containers won't move around. So you don't need to spend the money on the bottom piece for every single drawer. It wouldn't really be worth it for this drawer unless you do like just for completion's sake. That doesn't really count. You know, here's one. I just threw that in there. Really, not really a great example, but you guys kind of get the picture. Every drawer looks much more purposeful, and to be honest with you, is a lot more organized. Stuff's not sliding around, and then you have like separate sections, even though this is random. Like I have a weird mask thing next to like a lighter next to pens. Like it doesn't really make sense. And then I have more pens over here. So the full drawer is not organized, but it looks organized. So also a plus, not that it matters what people think, but you know, if you go through this or you have someone helping you with stuff, like they have a much easier time, you know, figuring out where stuff is and what to do. And I will say, I actually just forgot to mention, I'm going to put another side to the wrench. So these will not be like kind of lopsided. They obviously are not going to like balance on this. And I actually have to put in like a full blown like a wrench set. So that'll probably be a second iteration of this whole thing. But this side obviously warrants the whole like placement of the tool grid base, where like obviously I mentioned over here, this side doesn't. So I do want to take 1 second to mention all of the links for these are in the description. As many as I remembered that I bought and used, they are in the description. If you click those links and you actually buy something, I do get a kickback. So the money I spent on here does get sort of reimbursed to me via, you know, transactional commission. So if you do want any of this stuff, even if you buy like 5 of these things, please use my link, much appreciated. So it's funny, the observant subscriber would notice that these shelves are new. Yes, they are these shelves from Obsessed Garage. I'll put a link in the description. I didn't do a video on them, but I will do kind of when I do a comprehensive garage video. They're amazing, and I think they fit perfectly here. They just look very, you know, intentional. I just love that look. I used to have a lot of detailing stuff on them, but since it's approximately 38 degrees in this garage right now, was colder before, I did take a lot of this stuff in just because like I do have a heater and like a propane thing, but you know, at nighttime or when I'm at work, like I'm not monitoring the garage temperature. So if it did get below freezing, I just feel like it's not worth it. So anyways, that's why there's not a lot of stuff there, but those shelves look pretty sweet, if I do say so myself. All right, guys, that's gonna do it. Thank you so much for watching and nerding out with me on like some weird stuff that people just do not understand. If you're still watching, you probably do understand, and you can totally relate to the whole process here and maybe the logic as well. Doing this whole system might seem like really weird and overkill, but for me, like it really is like pretty much like life-changing, because anytime you do something or use a tool, you know exactly where it is and you know exactly where you put it before. Because as organized as I am, I don't always remember where everything is, and that's like one of the things that really gets to me. So now, no excuse to lose anything. It's actually funny. The other day I was working on the 330, and of course I took 2 sockets because I wasn't sure which one I needed, and I left one in my pocket and I couldn't find it. So I went back to put them back, and I'm like, oh no, like I'm missing one. So then I had to stare at the drawer, missing a socket for like a week, and then I found it was in like my hoodie or something. I found it like a few days later, and I'm like, that's the only thing that sucks about a system like this, is when you do lose something, you eventually will probably, you see it and it's very obvious, versus just like a mismatch, you'll never know. But anyways, not really a big deal, but kind of a funny story. So again, links in the description. Guys, thank you again for watching. I know the winter time is a little tough, but we get to still geek out in the garage sometimes, and yeah, it's pretty satisfying. So anyways, thank you guys again for watching, and I will see you next time.